Welcome to Top of the Potters. This time, we've been away for longer, so the selection got stronger. Here's the five that made it. The podcast king and the movie duo on changing film-going habits and the virtue of grace. In at 4, Anthony Trollope predicted Epstein's shenanigans by 150 years. Seems like Gove is enjoying experts again. New in at 3, Harry Hill's high-art pranks are pinging Stuart Lee's radar. Fancy a Murray Mint? A touching reflection from one of Britain's premium orators. And proud atop the podium, Biff Tannen from cinema's Back to the Future is pontificating on about the heart of that precious movie and the very serious heart of acting. But first, we joined Ben Damon just after plugging their new movie. How do you like these apples?
No, it's really well written because there's no suspension of disbelief moments. And that's hard to do in a big blockbuster action movie. There's always one moment in a movie where you're like, what?
Come on.
How did he do that?
That's convenient.
You guys don't have any of those. There's none of that. And I loved it.
Above all, it has to feel real. And that's why he was open to like, okay, whatever happens, you throw in a line, maybe it's good. You can't get your feeling hurt if it's not, but like you got to be able to take that shot. And we're all down, trying to spend time with people. I mean, I kind of feel for these cops, a bunch of actors descend on you, and they're like, what kind of sweatshirt is that?
I think one of the beautiful things about film, when a film is really good, is you see these complex characters, and it sort of like reformulates in your mind like what a person actually is.
Mm. Yeah, it's seeing all kinds of different people.
Yeah.
And yeah, I completely agree.
I mean, look, the fundamental like challenge, I think, in life is like to find some humility, which means actually thinking you might be wrong about the shit that you're pretty sure about. Like those are things that actually take work to get to, because the first instinct, because you just defend your idea or whatever, it's easier is to just
that it's a zero-sum game.
Yeah, exactly.
Somehow. Yeah, that two competing ideas can't exist.
Well, that somebody can't be a good person, like,
and believe it. Right.
Like if you decide, you can disagree. We don't believe this. I don't know. What about this? What about that? But once you find yourself relying on like, well, I need to like zero out this person's humanity in order to defend my idea, I think that's a pretty good indicator that like there's something wrong with the way you're thinking. Like, because it can't be that you're right about everything and everyone else is bad who disagrees with you.
Most of the people that I find, especially when there's someone that's publicly in trouble for something, most of the people that I know that have attacked people have a lot of questionable shit in their past. And it's almost like they're trying to hide that by going on the attack.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like if I can point my finger, it's like no one's going to be...
Yeah. Oh, he's a good guy. Ben's a good guy. Yeah. He's calling them out.
Yeah, exactly.
But meanwhile,
the bar for walking out of a movie theater is a lot higher than from just changing the channel. Right. And oftentimes, you directors will want to make a movie that is challenging and upsetting. And I remember Terry Kinney, my friend, great actor, and he told me about the experience of seeing Taxi Driver in New York for the first time, right, in '76 or whenever it came out. And he said, what I remember is not only the movie, but I remember standing at the back because I got up out of my seat and I went, but I couldn't bring myself to leave because I was so invested. But I was I was standing at the back by the door watching the movie, and he goes, and there were two other people standing next to me who were doing the same thing.
Just because they were disturbed?
Because the movie was disturbing them so much.
Wow.
But which is not a bad thing, right? So had that been on Netflix or Amazon, if somebody says, I'm disturbed, and they change the channel, like that doesn't mean you shouldn't make Taxi Driver.
Right, that's true. Like the investment of going to a place is much greater.
Yeah, and one of the values of that is that you look at movies from the 70s, the first act is 25, 30 minutes.
Right.
The Verdict, for instance, is a great movie. It takes a long time to
look
get
at the
going.
Deer Hunter.
Yeah,
I mean, that's...
And you're right, like what you're saying, the threshold for walkout is real, like any scene, like, I want to watch Naked Alone.
We're not too happy about all the blue language from Ben, so apologies in arrears, pod fans. But we got some good stuff out of it. Now, it would be pretty hard to avoid the Epstein scandal completely, but this take from Michael Gove is less salacious and more like a load of trollops. Who said no man is an island?
Peter Mandelson has what so many of the people around, not everyone, but so many of the people around Starmer lack, which is political guile and intelligence. And it may seem odd to mention political intelligence when it's clearly an act of stupidity and cupidity to leak government emails which are market moving to a Wall Street moneymaker and pedo. That is not the smartest move available. You don't need to be Metternich to appreciate that this is not a good idea. However, the thing is that in a desert, a thirsty man will drink even brackish water. And I think that Keir Starmer appreciates that Mandelson had some of the gifts that he lacked and that others around him lacked in being able to read the world. And there's a parallel, I don't know whether anyone would welcome this, with, someone like Richard Nixon, who was obviously the most disgraced American president ever, but at the same time had a reading of human character and politics. I mean, he made, of course, grotesque errors, which meant that he was sought out for the rest of his life. And so you can have someone who is both pariah and guru.
I have to say the whole saga with Fergie, Andrew and Epstein is just like vomit-inducing. The level of grift from her and depravity from him is just, it is quite nauseating.
Probably too late. I read a few weeks ago The Way We Live Now, sort of Trollope's arguably greatest novel. In it, the central character is a sort of Epstein figure, a financier called Augustus Melmotte. There isn't any lurid sex in it, but what there is the interplay of a marriage market and girls being essentially offered up as part of his own daughter, as part of sordid financial transactions.
There is a young couple who decide to go off and make something of their own in a new world rather than
be associated
living
with
off the fat of the land.
But
they all come to ruin, basically.
But the reason I mention it is that 150 years ago, the capacity of someone with forceful character, money, prodigious money, and the capacity to appeal to people's greed and vanity and lust was laid out in front of us. So the Epstein scandal is a reminder of human frailty and weakness in all its manifestations. So it might seem very 21st century in the fact that you have self-made billionaires like Musk and Branson ensnared in the web, that you've got what people would seem to think of as the post-ideological element of a centre-left politicians like Clinton and Mandelson feasting with Wall Street panthers. But actually, this is not to diminish or belittle the horrific fascination of it all, but it's a reflection of human weakness. And Peter Mandelson, in that sense, while his story is compelling and his fall is massive, nevertheless, he is also representative of someone, and the story's been told throughout time. I think it's part of the theme of Maupassant's Bel-Ami as well, when you have someone of talent who is corrupted because of the glamour of the world around them.
For sure, everyone should have read some Trollope. And keeping with the high art theme, it's worth keeping an eye on Harry Hill's brand new podcast, which is ringing in some interesting changes to the usual format.
It's terrible.
Can I point this out to you now, Stuart? It was you that introduced me to the internet.
Was it?
Yeah.
What did I do?
Well, when we were working on that Channel 4 show, you were the script editor.
Yeah.
Just to remind you. Yeah. And you came in one day to rehearsal and you said, there's this thing, the internet. And I had sort of heard vaguely about it. You said, and I remember this, you said you would really like it because you can look up all sorts of weird stuff. And then, then I was
now look what's happened.
Yeah. And now this.
Now you're on the internet. I remember the first time I saw the internet, I was a student. This was 1988. And there was a bloke called Danny O'Brien who was into computers. And he was in the computer room. You remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah. I walked past. I went, what are you doing? And he went, I'm on the internet. I went, what's that? And he said, it's a new thing that's been invented by American defence and it's going to change the world. I went, what is it? I went and he was on a screen and there were just loads of why did the chicken cross the road jokes scrolling past. And he went, this place has collected all the jokes of this in the world. And I just said, it's rubbish. It's like, is that all it does? It's never going to catch on.
That's not how you sold it to me. Stu, so is that right? You like Miss Dynamite?
I think that's an interview from 25 years ago where I mentioned something that was in the charts to say, but I like and now it sounds like a really strange thing to have picked 25 years.
It does sound a bit strange, but I'm a big fan of Miss Dynamite.
Of course.
And, I do that song, I Could Do This For You, if you like.
Yeah.
Her big hit, Put Him Out. Is that the one you like?
I don't remember anything about it now.
Yeah, that was her big hit, Ms. Dynamite. So,
have you made a rod for your own back?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Tells you what to wear and how to behave. Comes in your home and treats you like his slave. Don't need him if he makes you sacrifice your freedom. Get him out your life. Shout and curse at him in public places. Sleep in your house on a part-time basis. He don't even take care of his child. He don't make you smile. I understand that you love him and you're down. That don't mean you need to be his clown. Girl, you got to put him out. Change the locks and all that. Girl, you got to put him out. Next time, don't take him back.
That was superb, but presumably you did it with a deliberate echo of John Cage there, of John Cage's Waterwalk. Yeah, that's see, the thing about you is you don't make it, you don't wear it on your sleeve, but you continually use popular culture as a vehicle for high art, don't you? You've basically just done what if John Cage had written a Miss Dynamite song. You've done that. And no one's going to notice that except me. And if I'd not mentioned it, people would have just thought, what's that? And you'll never admit to it because you're living your whole life as a private joke at the public's expense. You think it's funny that you've done that, and it is. And you think it's even funnier that the average person won't know what it is. And that amuses you.
Never mind what I think. Do you want a chocolate?
Yeah, great.
Go on then.
This is the beauty of podcasts. New pioneers are emerging every month. We'll keep an eye on the new stuff for you. Just short of the touchline, Emma Trimble talks to author Douglas Murray from The Big Questions. Being right sometimes isn't enough.
You've probably had the experiences I have of a friend or loved ones doing increasingly less well in their lives. You know, the money goes less and less far. You know, the income or prospects have stagnated at best, declined at worst. And in that situation, it's sort of inevitable that people look for people to blame. And so I think, you know, to an extent, you know, the economists, much as I slightly resent their desire to have 100% of the terrain and claim that everything is about economics, are not entirely wrong. If the economics is not going well, if, like in Britain, you know, people do not feel that tomorrow is going to be better than today, you have the beginnings of what you need to have real civil problems.
We've seen, and I know you've commented on this, the anti-hostile vehicle bollards at Christmas markets and things like that. I wonder whether you feel that, as you previously, years ago now, I think did several debates about whether or not Islam is a religion of peace, whether you feel that you have been vindicated on that point.
Well, I mean, that particular question, I mean, I was always just irritated by it because whenever there was a terrorist attack done in the name of Islam, that was what all politicians said. They said, you know, Islam is a religion of peace. And I don't think it's solely a religion of war by any means, and there's plenty of peaceful stuff in it, but there's also a lot of war stuff in it. And I just don't like the lies. I just don't like the lies. I'd hate it if somebody pretended that, you know, the New Testament or the Old Testament didn't contain things it contains. It would just be a lie. So at least be honest, you know. As for vindication, all I can say is that, you know, I don't really like to think in those terms because, as I always said, I never wanted to be proven right. You know, I always wanted to be proven wrong, which may sound counterintuitive, but, you know, I was persuaded many years ago that if you're regarded as being a prophet on anything, you failed. Because a prophet, if you're doing your job well, ought to have altered the course of things because enough people had listened to you and therefore the thing would not have happened, and therefore you would never be acclaimed as a prophet. Being described as a prophet is a description that you failed. The nicest thing I think anyone said about any of my work was the late Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, who said after Strange Death came out, he said he sent a message about the book and quoted the book of Ezekiel. He said, what was it? He said, and whether they listen or fail to listen, they shall know that a prophet stood among them. I was deeply, deeply moved by that, but it was too much of a too praiseworthy. But as I say, I don't like it, because if I was right and what I warned about is happening, that means I failed.
Mesmeric stuff. Now we come to the highlight of the pinnacle of podcasts. It's Tom Wilson, world famous for playing Biff from cinema's Back to the Future. This one is a razor-sharp insight into what makes a movie sparkle. And pod fans, your shoes are untied.
We got into it. We got cast. It was an out-of-the-ordinary experience to rehearse and prepare with Crispin. But man, he's the linchpin of the movie, and I always say that.
Wow,
so he deserves all the credit in the world for being absolutely brilliant, so that nobody can forget it. I mean, I had the opportunity as an actor to act in scenes that just are absolutely immortal Hollywood history. You know?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's because of me and my commitment and all that, but it's also because of Crispin. Crispin was there, completely there, and made the scenes what they are. I actually don't think the movie is about getting the kid in the car back to the future. I think the movie is about, no, Biff, you leave her alone. I think that's the core of the movie.
Wow. Yeah, it's him standing up for himself.
His standing up for himself and saying, no, this isn't going to happen. Then he hits Biff, everything changes. And now, of course, we're in a Hollywood movie. We have to go and the car has to get him back. And then everything's changed with his family. Right. And all that stuff happens, and the lightning and everything. A lot of fun. But the meaning of the movie is stand up for yourself. As you know, there are two approaches in acting, generally speaking. Internal approach, my feelings and everything brought up by the method, all those things, and sense memory, all those things that come from inside of me and coming out. And external, what am I going to wear? How am I going to move? How does this guy talk?
Yeah.
So I had to change from internal was I used it in performing Biff, but it was very upsetting to me. It was
wow.
Because it was hard to act like that with people.
Yeah.
And believe it. So I had to do a lot of external work. Instead of that, you know, as I said, like in early acting training, one of the Russian skis, Stanislavski, took students to the zoo to look at animals. And they would have to do a character as if that animal was the character. So Biff became sort of a rooster, you know. I started moving my neck more. I started having my chest out more. I started moving in a certain way, talking in a certain way, moving my head. So I had a commitment to that, and then investing the internal things when it mattered.
You know, I really appreciate you for feeling it and, you know, describing it, because that's honestly what I felt like I went through when I was doing Smallville in the beginning, playing this character that just was the antithesis of me. So I understand, like, emotionally going, I'm not as cool as this guy. Right. Never feeling, or not necessarily cool, but just like, this is something I really have to work on. Like, I have to really I have to believe it. is the most important thing. I have to believe what I'm doing, what I'm saying, and that I am this guy. And that took a little time.
And sometimes you got to fake it for 2 takes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you have to blow it out with energy and all that stuff. And I know they're using expensive film and all that stuff, but you got to blow it out to find out the outer limits of where you're going and who you are.
And then you can internalize things.
And then bring it back and search for new things. If if the director's talented enough to see and sense what you're doing, and then come up after a couple takes and just talk about quietly, like, that thing is fantastic.
Yeah.
This thing, I would pull the reins a little bit and do this. That's
Zemeckis
a director.
was that.
Yeah, that's a director. That's what, if you're a talented director, that's what you do. You have to have the eyes and ears to sense those things.
And that brings this rundown to a close. A conversation shaped by the past, but still nudging at the future. As always, check out the full links in the description for anything that tickled your fancy. As spring edges in, new voices and fresh dialogues are already starting to surface. We'll be keeping an ear out for the ones that matter. If you'd like to stay in season with us, please like and subscribe. As a wise man once said, it's always better when there's more of us.
Water Walk because it contains water and because I walk during its performance.
That figures, doesn't it? John Cage and Water Walk.
Thanks for spending the time. We'll see you soon.